Thank you, Mrs. Sasa.
Thank you, Mr. President. السيدات والسادة، لقد أضحت الانتهاكات الجسيمة بحق الأطفال في سوريا كارثة حقيقية.
The gross violations against children are a true catastrophe today, with an unlimited number of victims among children because of the use of lethal weapons prohibited against civilians. We're seeing now a blockade. We could call it collective sanctions affecting also children. We're seeing chemical weapons killing children by suffocation. The report of the Commission of Inquiry indicated, and I quote, children are 54% of 179 victims killed by chemical weapons in Khan Sheikhoun, end of quote. Armed groups have committed crimes mobilizing children aged under 18, and this is compounded by the risks that these children run. These violations are accentuated following the intervention of foreign armed forces that have used even more lethal weapons. Children are also affected by deprivation of birth registration, which deprives them their right to an identity and education, and to enjoy basic services, which has led a large number of children, including girls, into despair, early marriage, and abandonment of school. They are thus exposed to even greater risks in the physical, moral, and psychological sense because of these profound consequences. Shahad is 10 years old. She was expelled from the town of Halab following a blockade of the region, which lasted for 17 months. She lives in a neighboring country now. But that was not her choice, and she is still wondering why she had to leave her school, her village. Why? Why did she have to do that? It is because of the bombardment. She could ask the question again today. Why should they be leaving their homes, not the oppressors? We should be ashamed. This country, which joined the Convention on the Rights of the Child and the Optional Protocol, is allowing paramilitary forces and armed forces, covered by reports on children in armed conflict, and these countries are treated on an equal footing with other parties. The armed factions were certainly involved. We are not here today to repeat the details of the situation affecting these children. This was reflected in a large number of reports, but we recall what Kofi Annan reflected in the UNICEF report, the State of the World's Children 2000, that there is little that is more important than guaranteeing the rights of the child, to guaranteeing their protection and their right to live in peace and security, end of quote. Since 2011 and up to 2017, nobody could provide protection to the rights of 27,000 children who have been killed. And now, as a local organization, we have done everything we possibly can to gather information in order to provide data and build a case of persecution. There is still time to stop the damage, but nobody believed in this missed opportunity. This has affected a whole generation. A whole generation is lost. Ladies and gentlemen, there are now 1.5 million children deprived of education. The reports on the region show that children are afraid to go to school and unwilling to go because of the lack of infrastructure. The worst thing is to describe the suffering of children. Some believe that it is merely setting the scene, but that is a crime in itself. We call on the international community and the Security Council to do everything possible today to provide protection, to activate the Commission of Inquiry and take all possible legal measures to persecute the perpetrators of these crimes. Aggressions against infrastructure must be stopped. It is essential to provide schools and protect them. It is essential to provide what is needed to continue education and protect the humanitarian personnel so that there can be interventions and assistance to hospitals and schools. Today, it is also essential to maintain contact with all of the armed factions to raise their awareness that there is no excuse for mobilizing children. Thank you. As regards the mobilization of children, we know that there can be no reason that justifies this. It is not possible to forgive the murder of children. Indifference is inadmissible. This is a problem which our consciences must address. All efforts have failed in the most deplorable way. It has not been possible to end the suffering of these children. After a number of years, we know that today's world is facing failure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osman. Please, Mr. Al-Qassam, the floor is yours.